at the expiry of the time provided for oral questions. The Honourable have a point of order. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Government House Leader.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I suspect if you were to canvass the House, you would find unanimous consent at this time to call at 6:30 so we can begin the report stage on 35, or government order.
Do we have unanimous consent to see the clock at 6:30? Agreed? Agreed and so ordered. It's now 6:30. Orders of the day, ordre du jour.
Orders of the day, government orders. Consideration at report stage of Bill C-35, Canada Early Learning and Childcare Act.
There is one motion and amendment standing on the notice paper for the report stage of Bill C-35. Motion number 1 will be debated and voted upon. Je vais maintenant soumettre la motion numéro 1 à la Chambre.
I will now submit motion number 1 to the House. Madam Ferrari, seconded by Ms. Falk. Battleford Lloyd Winster moves that Bill C-35 be amended by removing the short title. Debate.
Member for Peterborough-Kawartha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to start with a quote from Melissa, who wrote to me. I'm a healthcare worker who works long hours. Currently, I've been trying to find childcare since I found out I was pregnant, with no such luck. My son is 12 months, July 1st, and I'm set to return to work July 4th, but no luck with childcare, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to return. This is the reality of thousands of emails and messages I have read about Canadians struggling to access childcare. Tonight, we are here to discuss Bill C-35, or the Universal Childcare Plan, as the Liberals love to call it. And in particular, we are speaking to the report put forth by the HUMA committee that studied this legislation. Conservatives are here in particular to ensure the voices of parents are heard. This Liberal NDP government loves to tell Canadians they are feminists. In fact, the preamble of this bill specifically says gender equality and the rights of women and their economic participation and prosperity. But how is that message from Melissa, the healthcare worker, improving her rights and economic participation and prosperity when the choice to go to work is taken from her? Erin Cullen, who speaks on behalf of ECEs and ABCs in Newfoundland and Labrador, said there is no choice for families when it comes to childcare because there is none available. Erin compared the $10 a day childcare slogan to the government telling people that they get free groceries, but when they go to the grocery store, there's none on the shelves. The numbers tell the story, Madam Speaker. A report from the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, CCPA, highlights the childcare crisis. Of nearly 2 million kids under the age of 6 eligible for the program, 950,000 are living in childcare deserts. That means that there are at least 3 children competing for one spot. 92% of families in Saskatchewan are living in a childcare desert. 79% in Newfoundland and Labrador are living in a child care desert. 76% in Manitoba do not have access to childcare. In British Columbia. The numbers don't lie, and the reality is these numbers are in fact real people, real families, and real children who are left behind. There is nothing more stressful for a parent than finding quality, reliable, safe childcare for your child. Affordability is important, but the reality is this Liberal NDP government is failing in all areas to deliver. Listen to some of the testimony we heard in committee about the outrageous wait lists. I asked Sheila Olin-McLean of Compass Early Learning and Care, and I'll quote right from the record. I said, "Can I get you to clarify those numbers you said earlier? I asked about wait lists. You said there were about 300 per program, but there are 40 programs. That's 12,000 people on a wait list. That seems outrageous when you only have 3,300 spaces. Did I do the math wrong?" Ms. Olin-McLean replied, "When you think of a program that may have possibly 100 spaces or less than 100 spaces, and it has 300 to 400 people, some have 600 people on the wait list, so yes, that's probably pretty accurate." This is the reality of what families are experiencing. and it is destroying their mental health. The reality is parents can expect years on wait lists, and there is nothing in this bill to correct it, Madam Speaker. The Conservatives put forth multiple amendments calling for choice, inclusivity, access, data, and accountability, and the Liberal NDP coalition voted them down. They say they care about access and inclusivity, but their actions speak louder to what they really care about: pushing an ideology that will decide what is best for your children. They believe that the government should decide how your child is cared for. Listen to this story from Alberta that was shared by Crystal Churcher, Chair, the Association of Alberta Childcare Entrepreneurs, in the committee. She testified rather. I have one childcare operator in a rural, underserviced area of Alberta who has proudly operated a high-quality daycare centre for 17 years. She has invested in creating 194 childcare spaces for her community. When she was asked how she felt about the program, which is called C-Welk, she said that she was excited for families to finally have access to more affordable childcare and optimistic that it would bring relief to families sitting on wait lists. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, and this was in context of when she testified, she sent a letter to all of her 194 families in her centre, plus 563 families on a wait list, to notify them that she was closing her centre. After 17 years of successful operation, the viability of her business is gone. With high inflation, fee caps, and expansion restrictions on private centres, her centre is financially blocked. She had to make the heartbreaking decision to close a business that she built because she cannot take the financial risk of signing a new lease or investing further into expanding her centre with the unknown of a cost control framework looming. She writes that she is worried that the $10 a day goal will be at the cost of quality care for children. These are the decisions facing operators on the ground right now who are deciding to walk away from something they have proudly created because they can no longer carry the financial burden or because they simply can't agree with the reduced quality of care to bring the cost down. Where is the gender parity in this story, Madam Speaker? Crystal went on to say the bill was introduced without adequate consultation with all industry stakeholders and without respecting how the childcare sector has evolved in provincial jurisdictions across the country. What we're seeing is a program that has created a demand without the infrastructure to support it, which is causing wait lists, a two-tiered system, and undue stress to families and operators. Women entrepreneurs are facing bankruptcy and closure of businesses that have now lost all their value.
Sad.
The system is frankly not equitably accessible and is failing to meet the promises to parents and families. Operators are starting to ask what the real cost of meeting this $10 a day goal is. Parents are losing choice, the quality of programming is at risk, educators are burned out, and women are losing their businesses. This Liberal government is the first to tell you that they do not support two-tiered systems, and yet this bill is doing exactly that. Ms. Maureen Ferris, Director of Strathmaclean Childcare Centre, testified in the committee, and she said, "As I've mentioned, there are so many children who sit on the wait list and do not have a space, and there are operators who have chosen not to opt into the C-Welk program and can therefore provide or offer spaces to those families. Yes, that would absolutely create a two-tiered system. Families who could afford to pay more for more expensive care would be able to do so, and families who can't may get substandard care, unfortunately." Nothing addresses the labor shortage and frontline staff burnout and mass exodus from this profession. Again, the Conservatives put forth an amendment to fix this, and it stated, I quote, "an annual reporting that must include a national labor strategy to recruit and retain a qualified early childhood education workforce." But surprise, surprise, it was turned down by the coalition. This bill is supposed to be composed of 5 pillars: quality, availability, affordability, accessibility, and inclusiveness. Yet again, we have proof that the Liberals want to score political points and are more concerned with marketing a sellable plan than actually offering what it is they are selling. The Liberals moved a sub-amendment in committee that removed the words availability and accessibility, the biggest issue in childcare in this country. Why? Why would they do this? The reality is Bill C-35 is about as likely to help the childcare crisis as it is to win the lottery, because that is exactly what the childcare system in Canada is like. Getting a spot is like winning the lottery. The heartbreaking messages shared in Facebook groups, on the media, and to us as parliamentarians needs to be heard, and they need to be addressed. This Liberal government needs to stop promising what they cannot deliver. They have put the cart before the horse, and the reality is, Madam Speaker, they have failed at affordability, the highest use of food banks. They have failed in accessing housing. Nobody can afford a house. And they have failed in public safety, so why would Canadians trust them with their children? Conservatives will continue to fight for those left behind and will not stop fighting for freedom and choice for families to choose what is best for their children. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Minister of Families, Children and Social Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank my honourable colleague for those comments. And actually, it was really important what she said, because it's for all of those reasons that we brought Bill C-35 forward. It's because there was a lack of accessibility. It's because childcare was extraordinarily unaffordable. It's because we wanted to ensure high quality, and we wanted to make sure that it was inclusive for all Canadian children. So for all of the reasons that she outlined, we brought forward Bill C-35. We brought forward the $30 billion commitment over 5 years to bring forward childcare. I wonder what the member opposite proposes to do without the Government of Canada's involvement, how she would solve any of those issues that existed before C-35 and would actually be exacerbated and worse without it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Peterborough-Kawartha.
Thank you to my colleague for the question, and I think the best answer is, of course, by listening to the people who are on the front lines, and they're the ones that are sharing the truth here. So Jennifer Radcliffe, the director of Pebble Lane Early Learning, said, "The pressure to implement this program so quickly has resulted in overpayments to providers, families double dipping, and funding methods being overlapped. Parents are stressed and providers feel like they have to help. It is clear that the provinces are scrambling as they try to prove they can do this, but they are ultimately failing. You cannot simply throw money at a problem and expect it to change."
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Rimouski, Nejet, Témiscouata, Basque. Thank you very much. Yes, Rimouski, Nejet, Témiscouata, Basque. I'd like to thank my colleague for her speech. My question is simple and precise. The Bloc Québécois cares deeply about the autonomy of Quebec and its areas of jurisdiction. And I think that this bill was not tabled in the correct chamber. Everything that has to do with family policy is not up to the federal government. We know that once again the Liberal government is trying to bulldoze into areas of provincial jurisdiction. My question for my colleague is the following. In this bill, we can see that there is no respect for Quebec's desire to not have the federal government trampling upon its field of jurisdiction. And we also see that Quebec and the Bloc Québécois have made requests that were not respected. And of course, in Quebec, we've had childcare for 25 years, but all the other parties, including the Conservative Party, have rejected the amendments having to do with Quebec's right to withdraw with full compensation. So my question for my colleague, does she respect Quebec jurisdiction?
Peterborough-Kawartha.
Thank you to my honourable colleague for the question, and one day I will answer you in French, I promise. I think he has hit the nail on the head, and we've seen this repeatedly, and I touched on this in my speech. There is no respect for anyone who offers any other idea or any other solution than what the Liberal ideology puts forward. They think they know best. They don't believe in choice for families. They don't respect provincial jurisdiction. They don't respect Canadians, period. And that is evident by the crisis our country is in.
Questions and comments? Honorable député de Winnipeg Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My honourable colleague brought up the study from the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives. She's absolutely right. They called it childcare deserts. But And I agree with you. We have a childcare crisis. But one of their key recommendations in the report to address this kind of childcare desert was by guaranteeing decent wages and benefits for childcare workers. They didn't recommend creating a childcare system that was privatized. That wasn't part of their recommendations. They did, however, say that one of the factors that is resulting in childcare deserts is the fact that early childhood educators continue not to be afforded with decent wages and benefits. Does my colleague agree that we need to have a very clear workers strategy put in place that ensures that all childcare workers are paid decent wages and benefits?
Answer from the honourable member for Peterborough-Kawartha.
Yes, thank you so much to my honourable colleague, and I really enjoy working with her, and I know she's fighting for autonomy of Indigenous peoples as well, which we supported. And I think what is important here is to say that we absolutely put forward that amendment. When we're looking at recruitment and retention of a labour strategy, there's nothing in this bill. We put it forth in committee, and it was turned down.
Resuming debate, the honourable member, the honourable Minister of Families, Children and Social Development.